Good morning, everyone, and welcome to First Thoughts on a Friday. Oh, man. Excuse me 1 minute here. No, I wasn't having a caffeine fix. I was cold. I was chilly. It's only 59 degrees out. And when you're used to 80s and 90s, that's pretty nippy, pretty chilly, especially if you still have your short sleeve shirt on. First thoughts on our gospel lesson for this coming Sunday, which is from Luke, the 9th chapter. Toward the end of the chapter, starts with verse 51 and goes through the rest of the chapter. It's actually divided into two different halves. So let's look at that first half. It's important to remember now that Jesus has basically finished up his ministry throughout Galilee, and he's going to be headed from this point on to Jerusalem. When the days drew near for him to be taken up, he set his face to get to Jerusalem. To Jerusalem. This is the 9th chapter. We got a whole bunch of Luke to go. In fact, it takes him all the way into the 19th chapter to get to Jerusalem. And then we have the whole Passion story. And also the post-Passion, the resurrection of Jesus. But 10 chapters? Yeah. Well, here's the other thing. We're going to be dealing with those 10 chapters for the rest of the church year. Yep. The rest of a Revised Common Lectionary deals with Jesus on the journey to Jerusalem. So let's think about that as being our journey of discipleship. All right? Because those disciples are still learning along the way. Jesus still encounters many things along the way. It's not that his ministry comes to a grinding halt. No, it's just that he's now moving toward Jerusalem. But this whole word, to be taken up, that's the same words used of Elijah in our Old Testament reading, when Elijah was taken up in a whirlwind. Only this time, it's no tornado that's taking Jesus up, it's the cross. The cross. I like what else is happening here in this first part, the whole issue of Samaria. What's with that? You see, if you're a Jew going toward Jerusalem, and usually you're making a pilgrimage when you're doing that, but if you're coming from north to south, you don't go through Samaria. You go around Samaria. Samaria is where the bad Jews live. In fact, let's not even call them Jews anymore, because they've intermarried with other people, other races. They worship other gods. Yeah, okay, yeah, we'll accept the fact that along the way they did finally realize that the Torah is the Word of God, but then they set up their own center of worship, and they forgot all about Jerusalem. So they're not one of us anymore. We're not even going to mess with them. Yep, that's the way it was. So you would go around Samaria. Not Jesus. He's going right through Samaria because it's faster. But what do we find? We find that when he sent some of his disciples ahead to make some preparations for them as they entered this area, that they immediately, when they find out he's going to Jerusalem, they reject him. You see, because there's what they're saying up in Samaria is, you don't need to go to Jerusalem to worship Yahweh. You can worship Yahweh right here in Samaria. So he's being rejected. Now here's what I like. The disciples, two of them, asked Jesus, hey, we can do just like Elijah, even though you're not being taken up in a whirlwind. No, but we can do just like him. Jesus, you can do just like him. You can call down fire upon this city and have it destroyed. You know what Jesus says? That's not the way things are from this point on. From this point on, you do what I told you to do back a few chapters earlier in the Gospel of Luke, which is, if you go to a town that rejects you, just shake the dust off your sandals and go to the next one. Don't call down God's vengeance and fire upon them. That's not what I'm about. I'm about peace and hope and reconciliation. I'm not about slaughtering your enemies and those who tick you off. Okay, so we have that happening there. And that's the first part of the gospel lesson. The second part has Jesus encountering three separate people along the journey, along the way. And by the way, that word for journey in this first half of the reading occurs 7 different times. Only our translations, especially the Revised Standard Version, uses different words to describe the same verb that's in the Greek. Yeah, just kind of interesting. They want to get you into that mode that this is a journey. But it's more than just a journey, it's a life of moving along for and with God. All right, so they're going along, and someone comes up and says, "Hey, Jesus, I'll follow you wherever you go." You have to wonder if he really knew where Jesus was going and what was awaiting him there in Jerusalem. Would he still be that excited to go? Well, Jesus says, "Hey, okay, that's well and fine, but hey, you know those foxes you see running around stealing people's chickens? Well, sometimes they don't have a place to lay their heads. And I don't often have a place to lay my head. So if you're willing to put up with that kind of discomfort, go ahead, follow me." Now he encounters another person, and he tells this person specifically, "Hey, you, follow me." And we've seen him do that with some of this group of 12 disciples. Follow me. And in fact, it's the same words that are being used. And here the one says, "Hey, Lord, let me go bury my father first." In other words, Jesus, I'm not so sure I want to do that. I'll tell you what, just wait till my father dies so I can bury him. Now, that sounds kind of pious. In fact, there is sort of, it's not really a command that you have to stick around and bury your father, but honoring your father and your mother, maybe that's part of it, that you at least be with them right up to the end before you have any other considerations in mind, like following Jesus. And here Jesus gives that very strange, let the dead bury the dead. So, you know what? He's talking about people who are alive for God. And there's no time for you to wait. The time is now. I'm headed toward Jerusalem. It's very short. If you want to be my disciple, you only got 10 chapters in the Gospel of Luke to do it. Well, he doesn't say that, but okay, you get the point. It's of the essence that you do it now. And then another person comes and says, "Lord, I'll follow you, but let me go say goodbye to those in my home." In other words, let me kiss my family goodbye at least. Well, Jesus doesn't really give a hint as to whether, no, don't do it, yeah, go ahead, do it. We don't see that. Now, we do see that in the story of Elisha and Elijah. Elijah had called Elisha to be his successor. And Elisha said, "Oh, I want to do that, but you know what? Let me go back and say goodbye to my family." And when you read it in the Revised Standard Version, it seems like Elijah's kind of ticked off at him, but really not. It's an idiom in the Hebrew that we don't often understand, some of those idioms. But basically it says, "All right, I'm not holding you back. Go ahead and do it. Just get a move on, okay? Just do it and then catch up with me." That's basically what's happening there. And it's the same thing here in a sense, except Jesus says now, he's kind of saying, all right, but listen, you can't be looking backwards. When you're plowing, you got to be looking ahead. You can't be seeing where you've been. If that's what you're doing by going back to mom and dad, just reveling and living in the past, it's all about the future. It's all about not just the future, but what's happening right now. You've got to be on the journey, and you got to be looking ahead. So that is what makes a disciple for me. Just a lot of things going on in this gospel lesson that are really good and really ripe for pulling apart, especially for your life and my life, our lives of discipleship. Are we being intent on looking ahead? Are we just living in the past and reveling in the past, thinking, oh, the good old days? Well, yeah, I mean, it's okay to have some precious memories, but those are only memories. They're in the rearview mirror. Now it's full steam ahead. What does God have in store for you and me right now? What does he want us to be about in this world that God created, that God sent his son to redeem, that God sends his spirit to be a part of that process, calling you and me into it, sucking us into it, so to speak, so that we are his agents of change in this very turbulent world. Well, God's blessings be with you. I just want to turn my phone out this way for a moment. You can see what a beautiful day it is. It's sunny. There's blue sky up above. The birds are singing. It's going to be one beautiful day. And hopefully where you are, it is too. God's blessings be with you.